Hi everyone and welcome to another weekly update. I hope that all of you are well. It's currently Sunday afternoon where I am and I am going to host a barbecue in a couple of hours. It might be a little bit too early in the season because it's barely spring, but the sun is shining, it's not raining, and I just decided that we need to take this opportunity when it arises because the weather in Belgium is quite unpredictable and who knows when it decides to turn. So wherever you are, I hope that you can enjoy the weather outside and a nice ray of sunlight as well. Now, in terms of book mail, I do have two books to show you, and the first one is one that I'm quite excited for because that's actually a gift from one of my subscribers, and that's Cashil's Mercy by Jacqueline Carey. So Susanna gifted this to me. Again, thank you, Susanna. This means so much to me because Susanna is actually the person who got me to read Cashil's Dart by Jacqueline Carey, and I ended up absolutely loving that book. It's one of my all-time favorite reads now. So of course, I am going to continue the series. Now, this is actually the third book in the second trilogy, so I still need to read 4 more books before I get to this one, but I want to continue this series fast because of course I love the first one. I am quite intrigued to see what's happening next. So either this year or next year when I pick up this book, I will think of Susanna again and have some very fond memories. So again, thank you so much, such a nice gesture. Now, the other book that I got in the mail is one that I have been talking about in weekly updates quite a bit because it took so long to arrive, but it's finally here. This is a pre-order, and that is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. So this is, I think, her adult fantasy debut. It came out in February of this year, and this intrigued me for a number of different reasons. First of all, this one gets compared to a folklore retelling, but in a world close to our own, so not our own world. I love folklore retelling, so that's a plus. Also, Genevieve Gornichek, the author of The Witch's Heart, which was a new release of last year that I absolutely loved, says that she loved this book as well, that it has a very interesting magic system, interesting characters, and a unique mystery. So that's very intriguing. And I think that the main character here is a bard. So that's something that you don't really see a lot in fantasy. So I'm intrigued to see how this story unfolds. It's also a fantasy standalone, so yes, definitely a plus. And I do hope that I can get to that one soon, but I say that about every book that gets into my home and I don't read that quickly. So we will see when I get to that one. Now, this week I have been starting a lot of books. So I think that I'm currently reading close to 10 books at the same time. That might be a bit of an overkill, but to be honest, I didn't do that badly this week because one book that I started this week I also finished. And that is Lingus by Mariana Zapata. Now, this is a contemporary romance. That's not something that I usually read, but if you don't know, I am in a group with some lovely women who once a month we do a 24-hour readathon and one of us picks the book that we're reading. Now, usually that's a fantasy romance. It doesn't have to be, but this time it was a contemporary romance. This was actually the pick by Brandy, who is Steve's wife, and she absolutely loves everything that Mariana Zapata puts out. I was interested to give it a try, and it was definitely out of my comfort zone. I don't normally read this. Basically, we follow a woman who goes to a porn convention, and she meets a guy there. She doesn't know that he's a porn actor, but, well, surprise, surprise, he is a porn actor, and they become friends. So I actually read this in 24 hours. We started it yesterday over on Amanda's channel in some reading sprints, and I will link those reading sprints down below. They were definitely a lot of fun, even though it was 6 in the morning for me, so I was a little bit tired, to be honest, during the video, but I laughed a lot. It was a lot of fun. If you want to rewatch it and read in the reading sprints together with us, you can definitely do that. And then I just continued reading. Now, I had some issues with that book, especially a lot of slut shaming going on, but it was just a nice read, and I don't think that I will pick up anything by this author anytime soon, just because it's very distant from what I normally pick up. But once in a while, I did have a lot of fun, and I'm quite excited to see what all the other lovely ladies who were reading with us thought of that book. Now, another book that I started and I haven't finished yet, which is quite surprising, but I hope that I can finish it today or tomorrow, is Alphabet of Thorn by Patricia A. McKillop. So this is, of course, a modern fairy tale, or an original fairy tale rather, and I'm around a little bit over halfway through and I'm absolutely loving this one. So this is just perfect. This is definitely in my comfort zone. I love fairy tale retellings. I love fantasy that just feels very whimsical, and this is all that. So I will definitely be picking up more Patricia A. McKillop after I finish this book, which is also a standalone. And again, in fantasy, I'm always happy when I pick up more fantasy standalones. Now, another book that I picked up, and again, out of my comfort zone, I'm actually doing quite well with not only picking up fantasy and fantasy series, fantasy standalones, all of that. This is a classic, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So I'm reading this one together with Taylor over at Made Between the Pages, and I'm actually quite enjoying this one. If you don't know, we also buddy read The Picture of Dorian Gray, I think last month or the month before that, and I absolutely hated that book. The more I think about it, the more I don't really understand why so many people love it. But this one, Pride and Prejudice, I am really enjoying. I'm around halfway through, and I am listening to the audiobook that I was kindly gifted to by Lola over at Tokyo Reads. Again, so many awesome people that I have met through BookTube and who do all of these lovely gestures towards me. But I now have the audiobook that is narrated by Rosamund Pike, and she's doing such an amazing job. So I do think that a big part of why I am enjoying this book so much is because of her. And if she has narrated all of the other Jane Austen books, when I get to them, I will definitely try to get her narration because yes, it definitely improved the experience. So those are the books that I started this week. I have been reading a little bit in Way of Kings, I have been reading a little bit in Wall of Storms, but the majority of reading has happened in these 3 books. Now, in terms of videos that came out on the channel, I only have one, and that was my spring recommendations list, and this one made it on the list because it just screams spring. So if you haven't checked that one out, you definitely can, and I will link that video in the description box down below. I had a lot of fun, and also a lot of people who told me that they like these types of videos, even though they don't really think about the season when they pick up their next read. And I'm actually the same. I'm not going to go out of my way to pick up a book that just feels like spring or feels like winter or feels like fall. I just pick up whatever, but I do think that it's very fun to make these recommendations lists and that most people know what I mean with, oh, this is a book that's perfect for winter or this is a book that's perfect for spring. Actually, some people also told me that they like to pick up different seasons. For instance, somebody said that in summer, when he's too hot, he just picks up a book that's perfect to read in winter to cool down. So whatever floats your boat, you can do. I have a video for each of the seasons at this point, I think, except for summer, which will come out in a couple of months. So you can read all of those books whenever you want. Basically, all of the books that I put in a recommendations list are books that I love. So I recommend them regardless of the season. That's the only video that I put out. I actually wanted to film yesterday, but I got a little bit lazy. So yeah, apologies, not a video that came out. But like I said, I was on Amanda's channel if you want to see those reading sprints. Now for next week, it's quite of an easy week because it's the end of a month and the beginning of a new month. So you will have my TBR coming out, I think, on Tuesday, and then my wrap up on Saturday. And who knows, maybe in the middle I have a third video coming out, but I don't think so. Now on Saturday, the 2nd of April, I will be on Evie's channel to talk about my favorite book of all time, Daughter of the Forest, of course, by Juliette Merlier. So if you want to talk about that book, it is on Saturday. I think that I already have the video link, and if that's the case, again, I will link that in the description box down below. And I cannot wait because I think that everybody who will be in the live show absolutely loved this book. I think that everybody actually gave it 5 stars. So it's definitely going to be a gush fest, and if you want to have that, if you also love this book and just want to hear people raving about it, yes, definitely join us the 2nd of April. So that's basically everything that I wanted to talk about today. The only thing that I just wanted to show you and that I just thought was so sweet is that my sister gifted this to me. That's like a little notepad with all of these very nice little papers that I can use for my scrapbook. And I think that this is also perfect for summer. So yes, I thought that this was so sweet because it's not my birthday or anything like that. And this is a very thoughtful gift. So I will need to make my reading journal my reading journal spreads for next month, and I actually still need to finish up March. And next month is the end of a quarter, so I will also need to put a quarterly stats page, so definitely a lot to do. Now, what I have learned from those reading sprints yesterday is that I absolutely love them, and then it's been such a long time since I did them, because I think the last reading sprint that I had, apart from that one yesterday, was in December. And I think that I also did some Come Journal With Me sprints. So I think that both of those will happen somewhere next month. I will do some reading sprints on my channel and also some journaling with me, because like I said, I need to make those stats spreads and I don't know how I'm going to tackle that. So I might want to have some input from people who are watching and journaling themselves. So that's something that will be happening next month. That's everything that I wanted to talk about. Please let me know how your week went, what you've been reading, what you've been picking up, if you love what you are reading, because of course that's very important, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. As always, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and see you next time. Bye!